सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ओम श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः। ओम श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। We are in the topic of anubhuter-nityatva-upapattih. Here, the last discussion was about samvit, which is consciousness or awareness or sentiency. We can say all these things in English. Ramanuja said that it is anadi, but it has anta. Okay, so it is not really nitya. Samvit is not nitya, but for them samvit is different from atma. Only atma is a nitya dravya, and also it is a jnana dravya. It has jnana also, but the jnana they say is only a facilitator for the vishaya jnana, which is called dharma bhuta jnanam. So in this context, we were discussing, okay, and in this, one of the things which is said is this samvit has bheda. Okay. Now, initially we argued that samvit cannot have any vijatiya bheda because everything other than samvit is mithya. It doesn't really exist. And samvit also cannot have swagata bheda because it is one only. Okay, it is a homogeneous vijnana ghanaha and all we say. That's why it's a homogeneous entity without any distinction or division internally. It's a partless whole. But still the Purvapakshi is saying there can be sajatiya beda. There can be many samvits like this. Okay. So that's what we were discussing. And in this context, again the discussion went into how do we know that sajatiya beda? Okay. Whether many things are there and all that. And for that, they were talking about that they are able to see others, correct? Based on that only they are saying there are many sentient entities and all that. But even that is basically upadhi krita bheda is what we say. So there is only one samvit which is appearing. Yata prakashayat ekaha kritsnam lokam imam ravihi and all. Even in the Gita it is said. So like that this discussion is going on. Okay. And in this context, again, they were trying to say that one of the arguments they are making is that this samvit is dependent on the vishaya. That is another interesting argument. Only when the vishaya is there, vishaya jnanam also can take place. So it is vishaya adhina. But what we say is what the vishaya itself is anubhava adhina, correct? That is what we are saying. In fact, pramata also is anubhava adhina for us. Pramata and prameya both, the subject and object, the cognizer and the cognized object, both are having the consciousness itself as the basis. The subject-object division is something which is appearing in anubhava or consciousness is what we are saying. So, this Ghatadi, how do you know it is there really? Or how do you say that it is the Vishaya which is actually making the Samvit or awareness come into being means? So they are saying only when the Indriyartha Sannikarsha is there, this Jnanam is there, correct? Any cognition is there. Cognition is dependent on the Indriyartha Sannikarsha. So there one question was asked. This Indriyartha Sannikarsha brings about always Prama or Brahma. Like that one argument is going on. So in this context only we were talking that Jnanam can take place even without Indriyartha Sannikarsha, correct? So in Swapna, there is no Indriya or even Artha. But then there is a Jnanam is there, Swapna Jnanam is there. When Swapna Vyavahara is happening, Swapna Jnanam is there. But when you wake up, all that is not true. So once we say this, so there is no need that to be that Indriyartha Sannikarsha has to be there always for Jnanam to take place. And also any Jnanam, even Pratyaksha Jnanam, cannot be considered as really Prama. That is an important point we are making. Although in the Vyavahara we accept Pratyaksha as a Pramana, means it is giving Prama, but all that is negated by Shruti. Okay. So whatever the Pratyaksha is revealing, even that is Badhita only for us. So it is not really Prama, everything is Brahma only. The very fact that you are taking yourself to be a subject itself is a Brahma. That is the Brahma which starts, correct? That your very individuality is a Brahma. Everything starts with the individual only, correct? You get up in the morning and you take yourself as an individual subject, and then the entire objective world is different from you immediately, and then the Vyavahara starts. All this is Brahma only. And therefore, whatever Pratiksha or any other Pramana which is revealing something to you in the subject object Vyavahara, all of them cannot be considered as Prama itself really, because the Vyavahara itself is Badita, correct? So, like even the Swapna entirely becomes negated, correct? So along with that, the Swapna objects and Swapna subjects, everything is negated. So once we say this, they say no, waking is different from Swapna, because Swapna is asthira vyavahara, and waking is sthira vyavahara, and all that they are saying. Okay. So in this context, we were saying that this sthiratvam, asthiratvam and all is not a prayojaka for badita or abadita. How long it lasts is not a factor. Okay, or it is not the deciding factor with reference to whether something is negated or not. So in this context, finally he said that kimu satayushaha purushaha purushasyaiva dashayushaha purushasyapi vyavahara abhaditatvam na sambhavati. तस्माद् यथा स्वप्न दशायां विषयेन्द्रिय अभावेन विषयेन्द्रिय सन्निकर्ष अभावेपि विषय प्रत्यक्षं जायते तथा जागरेपि इति संतोष्टव्यम्. So he is saying, does it not happen that whether somebody lives for 100 years or 10 years, it doesn't matter, correct? You cannot say the guy who is living for 100 years is Vyavahara Abadita. He will also die. 10-year-old, whether he dies at 10-year-old or 100-year-old, everybody is mortal only, correct? Just because somebody is living 100 years, he is Vyavahara Abadita, he is not going to be destroyed in the Vyavahara. That is not there, correct? So, therefore, what we have to say finally, like in the Swapna Dasha, this even without any Vishayendriya, correct? Without the presence of Vishaya, Indriya, and their sannikarsha, their contact, Vishaya Pratyaksha is happening. So similarly, it is happening in Jagrat only, we have to say. There need not be anything real for this perception to take place. There is no basis on which you can claim reality for this. Sthiratvam, Asthiratvam and all is not a factor. So, once we say this, what now they are saying, Nacha evam swapna jagarayoho abhedaha syat iti vachyam. So, swapna jagarayoho abhedaha. So, from this, what will happen? He is saying, no, then what is the difference between Jagrat and Swapna? See, Jagrat and Swapna are equally asat. That we have to accept. There is no difference in the fact that both are asat. But in that, some differences can still be made. So now he is saying what? He is saying Nidra dosha sahakritatva asahakritatva okay, avidyaya stadbheda. So avidya is there both in Jagrat and Swapna. But then what is the bheda? There is Nidra. Nidra is the additional dosha which leads to Swapna. In Jagrat, there is no Nidra dosha. You are awake. Okay. But Avidya is common. Avidya and Nidra together become Swapna. Avidya without Nidra is Jagrat. That's all is the difference. So Nidra is given, the sleep itself is given as a dosha. Okay. In fact, Bija Nidra Yutaha and all also it is there. Even in the Manduka Karika and all, we talk about this Nidra word itself sometimes is used even to denote Ajnana also. So, so anadi mayaya suptaha yada jiva prabudhyate ajam anidram aswapnam advaitam buddhyate tata also is there in Mandukya Karika. So anadi mayaya suptaha. So you are being in avidya also is a kind of sleep only. Anyway, here the nidra and avidya is talked about separately, and a distinction can be given between sleep and swapna and jagrat, correct? Because even in the karika, swapna and jagrat is said to be karya karana baddha. Both karya and karana are there. That means the karana avidya is there, and because of which the karya, the dvaita grahana is there. Both are there. And sleep, if you take deep sleep, that is only karana baddha, it is said. Okay. So there is bija in the sleep, which is karana, which is tattva agrahana and all we say. In the sleep, there is no dvaita grahanam like in swapna and jagrat, but tattva agrahana bija is there. So bija, that is the karana. That is the karana baddha. Even in the karika also, the prajna is karana baddha and vishva tejasaha, they are all both, they are bound by both karana and karya. Karya is the dvaita grahanam. Karana is the tattva agrahana rupa avidya, which is basically the avarana. So even in the Gita, Bhagavan talks about ajnanena avritam jnanam, which is very important. And there Bhashyakara gives this ajnana is covering the tattva jnanam, he says, because my Guruji used to always say, very interesting way, because all knowledge is really only destruction of ignorance. There is no creation of new knowledge. Understand that. And it goes very well with the Ghata Bhashyam and all that, what Bhashyakara talks about there. So, even any knowledge, a teacher, when the teacher is teaching, the teacher is like a sculptor. My Guruji used to say. It's a very beautiful analogy. Why? Because the sculptor is not really creating anything new. The stone is there, And in the stone, the sculptor is already seeing a vision, correct? What is there in the stone, he is already seeing. He is already seeing a Krishna or Rama in the stone. And all he is doing is removing whatever is covering Krishna or Rama from that stone, correct? Like that, all knowledge is already there, correct? Ishvara is all knowledge. Ishvara's all knowledge alone is manifest as the Jagat. Really speaking, even though we talk about upadana, nimitta and all that, there is only one karana, which is the jnanam itself. That's why yasya jnanamayam tapaha. This Ishvara's tapas is jnanamaya alone, and the jnana alone is appearing as all these things. Everything is only an appearance that we can understand even better now. 100 years back, people thought space-time is absolute, matter and all is really real. Now we know the entire macro world is only a show, correct? It's all magic display only. It is all 99% is space, quantum level. So then what is all this? All this macro world? Nobody, even most of the physicists understand macro world is just an appearance. So it's not a very big deal for us now. So why I am saying this is, so all this idea that somehow just because you are perceiving it is real, nobody can establish that. There is no way you can establish based on perceptual knowledge that something is real. That cannot be the deciding factor. That cannot be a prayojaka. So that's why when the Shruti negates, everything is badita. The entire vyavahara, whether it is swapna or jagrat, everything is negated in one go. Okay. So here, uh, even though a distinction is given between swapna and jagrat, they are all really asat only for us. So here, tad jiva, tattad jiva adrishtadi sahagritatvam tu tulyam bhavatrapi. Okay. The other thing is what? Why do we even go through all these experiences means what? That is adrishta only, correct? Papa punya, whatever, even the swapna experience, in swapna you can undergo sukha or dukkha, even in the swapna. And what is the reason for that means that also is only your karma. Okay, but the only thing is, in this discussion, there is a big discussion in Swayamjyoti Brahmanam about this, in Brihadaranyaka also. The only difference is in Swapna, you don't accumulate new karma. Swapna is pure exhaustion of karma, correct? Whether it is you have sweet dreams or you have nightmare or you have both. You enjoy for some time in the Swapna and something starts chasing you, you run, you are not able to breathe. All these things can happen in Swapna and then you get up sweating all over, possible. So now all these things, again only adrishta, papa punya only, that is common. Tulyam ubhavatrapi. So for each jiva, whatever prarabdha you have to undergo, you undergo that both in waking and swapna. That is there. So that's why it is saying atayeva nidra dosha apagame swapna apagamaha. So whatever the nidra dosha, once you get up, means even there we say that after whatever you are supposed to experience based on your papa punya, you get up from nidra, correct? That means swapna also is then gone. Then what? Jagarecha pitradi darshana janaka adrishta apagame pitradi darshana bhavaha natu pitra dehe mritatvat. Okay, even in the jagrat, what our Billangonda is saying is that if your papa punya is such that that you are not able to see your father for some reason. Means then your Pitradi Darshana Abhava is there, then for you, you are not even able to see your father. It need not be that your father has to die or something, then only you cannot see him. There can be other reasons. Your papa is such that you are not even able to see your father for whatever reason. Okay. So Pitradi Darshana Abhavaha can happen purely due to Adrishta. And therefore what he is saying is Nahi Anubhava Tirekena Pitradaya Santi Yena Tesham Britihi Syat. So, in fact, if you are not able to see your father or experience the presence of your father, that itself is Marana. There is nothing like Marana other than that he is saying. Okay. So, this again we have to relate all these things back to even Ghatabhashya. Ghatabhashya is very beautiful because for us there is no real creation, real destruction and all that. It's only manifest and unmanifest. Right? Everything manifests and potentially everything is there already. Then it becomes manifest and again goes back into a potential state and all that. And during the manifestation alone, it is available for cognition. So the very fact that you are able to not cognize your father, that is like that is good enough. That is like death only. Because any existence is dependent on anubhava. That is what he is trying to drive here. They are saying the other way around. Vishaya has to be there. Anubhava is Vishayadhina. Correct? From there he is trying to shift it to all Vishaya are Anubhavadhina. That is the point he is trying to bring. So that's why he is making this argument. Even death is really adarshana for us. Okay, because everybody potentially exists. So Anubhava Sattadhina Vishaya Satta iti Siddhantitam. So Vishaya Satta is dependent on the Anubhava Satta, correct? It is not the other way around. And even if Vishaya is not there, Anubhava can still be there. That's why Anubhava is independent, we have to say. But you can never have a Vishaya without Anubhava being there. So that's why the Vishaya Satta, the existence of any object depends on the existence of the cognition of that. So Ata eva lokepi vritasya pitra dehe nashtaha iti vyavaharaha. So even that is why even if somebody dies, we say that he is nashtaha. Now the important, very interesting point he is making is why he is saying nashtaha. Nashtaha means somebody is not available for cognition anymore, correct? He is perished, we can say. But in Sanskritam, this nasha dhatu is there. Divadigana. Actually, the nasha meaning is nasha adarshane. Like that only the dhatu pata it is there. So he is bringing that here very beautifully. So he is saying nasha adarshana mitihi dhatvartaha. So the nasha dhatu, actually the dhatu is nakara. That is also an interesting thing. The nakara then becomes na. Okay. So if you search for na, then you won't get it in the dhatu pata. So nasha adarshane is the dhatu and it comes in the meaning of adarshana. That means for us, even death is really, or destruction and all is only adarshana. There is no real destruction. Understand that. Darshanam is birth. Adarshanam is death. Because manifestation, unmanifest. And everything is there potentially. That's what we say. Therefore what? Tasmat pratitihi eva vishayaha. So what we are saying is cognition only is establishing the object, not the other way around. Natu pratiti atiriktaha kaschid vishayaha asti. So there is no object independent of the cognition, we are saying. We cannot establish. Yena pratitehe vishayadhina sattakatvam Ashankyeta. So, this being the case, nobody can have a doubt that whether pratiti is dependent on, or the cognition is not dependent on the object. The object's existence is dependent on the cognition. So that is what it is very clear from all these things. Therefore, he says, pratitehe eva vishayatve cha anve vyatireka nyayaha asti. Okay. यदा प्रतीतिः तदा विषयः यदा न प्रतीतिः तदा न विषयः इति यतः मृत्सत्त्वे घटसत्त्वं मृदभावे घटाभावः इति न्यायात् मृदतिरिक्तः घट अभावः तद्वत्. So the pratiti alone is vishaya. For this we can give anvaya vyatireka nyaya. He is saying anvaya vyatireka means what? Anvayaha means if A is there, B is also there. And Vyatireka is what? If B is not there, A cannot be there. Okay. So Anvaya Vyatireka, Nyaya is there. So what he is saying, Yata Pratitihi, if Pratiti is there, then Vishaya also is there. And if you are not able to cognize, then you cannot say that exists really, correct? So Yada na Pratitihi, Tada na Vishayaha iti. Similarly, what when the mud is there, then Ghata is there. Okay. And if the wherever the clay is not there, the clay part cannot be there. So from this we understand there is no clay part other than clay. Similarly, any Vishaya is not other than the Chaitanyam or the Pratiti. So once you argue like this, they will come back. So he's saying now, Nacha Vishaye Sati Pratitihi Asti Vishaya Bhave Pratiti Abhavaha iti Nyayaha Kimiti Nasyad iti Vachyam. So now he is asking the other way around. Purvapakshi is saying, is it not that only when the object is there you can cognize it? And when the object is not there, you cannot cognize it. That's how we know. That is the Nyaya. Is that Nyaya not there? Like this, the Purvapakshi is asking. You cannot say that. Na Vachyam. Why? Because the Swapna is there again for us. In Swapna, there is with the Vishaya Abhava also. Pratiti is there. So that we have established. So Swapne Vishaya Abhavepi Pratiti Sattvasya Sampratipannatvat. So Swapna is there for us. So, and also he say, Nahi Mritaha Pitradayaha Swapne Santi Yena Vishaya Sattvat Darshana Sattvamiti Vaktum Shakyeta. So another point is what? Even your dead father you can see in the dream. So that father is not there anymore. But without that Vishaya being also you are able to see that in the Swapna. That means for cognition, Vishaya need not be there. But for Vishaya, cognition has to be there always. Otherwise, you cannot say the Vishaya is there. That's what he is pointing out. So this way, Anvaya Vyatireka is only working one way. The other way, you cannot say it works. It will work. So, Nacha Jagaraha iva Swapne api Isvara Srishta Vishaya Santi iti Vachyam. Okay. Now, they are saying like, no, Jagrat is Isvara Srishti. It is not Jiva Srishti. Therefore, independent of cognition also, objects have to be there. And similarly, Swapna also is Isvara Srishti only for us. Maybe Jiva, one Jiva alone is seeing that, but that doesn't mean it is Jiva Srishti. It is also Isvara Srishti because there also Papa Punya only is exhausted. Even you said that, correct? So like this, they are saying Isvara Srishti is independent of consciousness or cognition, they are saying. In fact, we don't accept that. So what he is saying is Jagarepi Surasrishta Vishaya Sattvasya Asmabihi Anabhyupetatva. So even in waking, the Surasrishta Vishaya is there, but its Sattvam is not independent of this Chaitanyam. Chaitanyam alone gives Sattvam to everything. So we don't accept it as independent Sattva. So why we say this? Ye tu jagare anubhavyatirekena padarthaha santi Ishwarasishta iti vadanti tan prati bruhi. So if you say, if something is anubhava vyatireka is there in Jagrat, okay, and that is Ishwara Srishti, then also you say that what about then Swapna? There will be a problem, correct? Jagare iva, so tan prati bruhi. So with reference to that, what we say this, what Jagare iva, Swapne api Ishwara Srishta Vishaya santi iti. So in Swapna also Ishwara Srishta Vishaya is there, but it is not really true, correct? When you wake up. Therefore, Ishwara Srishti is not a criteria again to say that Vishaya is Swatantra and it Swatasiddha. It exists independently. You cannot say everything is only this Chidadhina or Anubhava Adhina, and not that Anubhava is Vishaya Adhina. So that's what basically we are actually establishing here. Therefore, what he is saying, Kasmad Anubhava Dina eva Vishaya Satta. So Vishaya Satta is dependent on Anubhava, not the other way around. Or another option he is giving, Yadva Yajanya Jnanam Tasya Satta Vishayadhina Bhavatu. So whatever they say, Dharma Bhuta Jnanam, which is the Vritti Jnanam for us, which is Janyam. Vritti is Janya. So its satta can be Vishayadhina, you can say, because unless the Vishaya is there, Vritti cannot be there. But Ajanya Nitya Jnana is there, correct? Katham Punaha Ajanyasya Nitya Jnanasya Satta Janya Anitya Vishayadhina Bhavitum Arhati. So the Nitya Jnanam, how can it be dependent on something which is being born and which is Anitya? That which is unborn and eternal cannot be dependent on something which is born and which is Anitya. Once we say this, what? He's saying, no, nacha ajanyam nityam jnanam nasti iti vachyam. He's saying ajanyam nityam jnanam nasti. Don't say that. You cannot say that. Why? Tvaya eva uktatvat nityam jnana dravyam asti iti. You have accepted dharmi bhuta jnanam, which is jnana dravyam. Okay? And then they'll say, no, jnana is a visheshana to atma and all that. That is the problem. Anyway. But jnana is still nitya. So, tasya nitya jnanasya atmatva, okay, atma ashritatvayoho eva hi avayoho vaimatyam. Okay, he is explaining that also. See, you also accept jnana dravya, which is nitya. Only debate we can really have is what? That jnana itself is atma or not? Or the jnana is atma ashrita. They are saying, like I told you already, jnana itself is not atma, but it is atma ashrita, means what? Again they will say it is a visheshana. But it is a nitya visheshana and all that. How can a visheshana be nitya and all? Again their problems will come, but that is their siddhanta. That is our vaimatyam, he is saying. That is where we differ. But nitya jnana dravyam you also accept. So you cannot claim that there is no nitya jnana. Okay. And once you accept nitya jnanam in whichever form, you cannot say that is dependent on janya, something which is janyam. Okay. So with this particular discussion is over. Then further, okay, I think this is only one more paragraph is there. We'll try to finish it today. ननु घटादेः विषयस्य कथम् एतन् नित्यज्ञानाधीन सत्ताकत्वम् इति चेत्. So now he is asking how this Ghatadi Vishaya and all is dependent on this Nitya Jnanam. How can you say? That is the question he is asking. Iti ched uchyate. So with reference to that, what do we say? Nitya Jnanam eva avidyavashat janya jnanam bhavati. So Nitya Jnanam only is due to the upadhi. Correct? Avidyavashat janya jnanam bhavati. It becomes janya jnanam upadhi vashat. Something which is born. So janya jnanasya cha vishaya satta hetutvam darshitameva iti. So janya jnana can be dependent on the Vishaya Jnana, and Vishaya Jnana is dependent on the Janya Jnana. They are all madhu. They are all interdependent. That is fine. That we already saw that. Or the other option is what? Yadva Nitya Jnanam Atma iti uktam Atma Satyaya eva sarvasya sattavatvam iti kritva tathoktam iti vedyam. The other option is what? Everything is only adhyastha and Atma on Atma, correct? Atma is the adhisthana for everything. Therefore, the Adhisthana Satta only is there for any Adhyastha Vishaya. Therefore, Atma Satta alone is there. The existence of Atma alone is borrowed by anything which is superimposed on that. That way also we can say, we have said that also already. That in that way you understand. But once we say this, what he is saying, no. Nacha Atma Dina Jagataha Satta iti Kutaha Uchyate. Jagataha asti pritak swatantra satta iti vachyam. So now he is saying, no, no, Atma Adina Jagata Satta, how can you say this existence of Jagat, the world is dependent on self? How can you say that? The world has independent existence. Okay? So Jagataha asti pritak swatantra satta iti, but you cannot say that na vachyam. Why? Aham asmi iti atma pratyeti iti atmanaha swatantra satta. So Atma is independently existent because Aham Asmi. That is happening, correct? Without any pramana vyapara, everybody can understand I am there. I am doesn't require any pramana vyapara. So it is self-revealing. And because of it, the fact that it is self-revealing, it is self-existence existing also because it doesn't depend on anything else to reveal itself. But all other objects, they are all jada. They require Atma to reveal them, correct? Or they become evident only to the Atma. So, idanim asti iti Atma pratyayadeva ghata dehe satta labhaha. So, to establish the existence of any object like pot, you have to say this is pot. Like that, you have to have the pratiti. The pratyaya has to be there. But for the pratyaya to be there, Atma should already be there. The cognizer is already there, is implied in any cognition, and but the object is known only after the cognition. Therefore, object only is dependent on or has dependent existence. Atma cannot have dependent existence because it is self-existent and self-revealing. So further he is saying, Natu swataha nahi ham gataha asmi ityadi rupena gatadihi pratyeti Jadatvad iti ghata dehe satta atma ayatta iti. Okay, further what? The swataha aham gata asmi ityadi rupena gatadihi na pratyeti. Okay, so by themselves, they cannot cognize that I am there, gata, etc., because they are all jada. Therefore, their cognition and their existence depends on Atma, which is the cognizer, Pramata. Okay, further what? Nacha Gataha asti iti Atma pratyayat pragapi Gataha asti iti vachyam. So, but if we say that also, there he is still maintaining, no, part is there even before you cognize it. But you cannot say, why asti iti pratyaya avishaye ghate satta ayoga anyatha shashashringadav api satta sambhava. So if you say no, without any cognition also something exists, that is not proper, correct? It is not tenable, because then you have to say even shashashringa is there. Okay, so pratiti is only establishing the existence. For all objects, they cannot have independent existence. Okay, nacha aham asmi iti pratyayat pragapi yata atmani satta vartate tata ghate iti vachyam. Even for this, what he is saying, no, even before the I thought, correct, I am there and all that, I is still there. Like that, Gata also should exist. With before the Gata cognition, Gata should exist. Like even I exists even before the I thought is there. That also you can't say. Why? Because aham asmi iti aha pratyeshi saha pratyeta tat pratyayat प्रागेव सिद्धः इति भवति आत्मनि तथा अयम घटः इति प्रत्ययात् प्राक् तु घटः नैव सिद्धः इति न घटे तथेति. So like I said, the pramata is implied. The pramata's existence is implied because for the pramana vyapara to take place, pramata has to be there already. But it is not the same with reference to the objects. And objects only become evident to Atma. It is not the other way around. Atma is self-evident. So whatever is self-evident alone can be self-existent. It cannot be the other way around. So therefore, whatever you say, we cannot accept. Therefore, what do we say? Of course, further Shruti Pramana also is there for us. So tasmat na vishayadhina anubhava satta napi jnatradhina. Okay, that therefore what this anubhava satta, the existence of anubhava or samvit or chit chaitanyam is not dependent on any object nor even the knower. Okay, why? Because the knower itself is anubhava only really. Because there is nothing other than this chaitanyam which can be the knower, correct? Jnatuhu eva anubhavatva. The swarupa of the knower is this chaitanyam finally. So even you cannot say that only when the knower is there, this atma is there or chaitanyam is there. It's not like that. Yadi tu ज्ञाता अत्र अनुभवात् भिन्नः प्रमाता इति विवक्षितः तर्हि सोऽपि प्रमाता अनुभवाधीन सत्ताकः एव स्यात्. Even if you say the jnata or the knower is different from anubhava, but even then what, that existence of that pramata is dependent on anubhava only, because first I am, then I operate the pramana and then the object is. That's how it is. So even then both subject object depend on this chaitanyam or anubhava, not the other way around. Even if you say that this is what is the truth, anubhava adina only everything is. So vastutastu pramatuhu swarupabhutaha eva anubhavaha iti na pramata anubhavat bhinnaha. But in reality, what do we say? Like I said, this the very nature of the knower is this anubhava or chaitanyam, and therefore it is not separate from the knower. Nanya datosti drashtri, Nanya datosti shrotru and all is there in Brihadaranyaka also. Beautiful portion of the Shruti. So pramata is not anubhavat bhinnaha, is not separate from this anubhava. And further what nacha sakshi eva anubhava iti vacham. He is saying no, pramata is not the anubhava, but there is a sakshi. Hey, see, sakshi, pramata and all okay. We can make a difference there, but it is all only aupadika. See, sakshinaha eva kenachit upadhina pramatrittvasya sampraptatvat iti sankshepaha. The sakshi also is not separate from anubhava, and sakshi also is Again, the Sakshi only becomes a Pramata, we say. How? Because in the Siddhanta, the uh, the Upahita Chaitanya is Sakshi, Vishishta Chaitanya is Pramata, we say. Okay, Antakarana Upahita Chaitanyam is Sakshi. Upahita means it is conditioned and it is not really affected by it. But if you if you take it as something Visheshana, Vishishta Chaitanya means that is the Pramata. Like this we say. Therefore, this is the summary. Anubhuti is Nitya and everything else is dependent on that. And that is what now the next topic is Anubhutehe Drishyatva Anupapattihi. So if Anubhuti or Anubhava or Chaitanyam can never become an object of cognition, that topic we'll see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी।